Hello, book lovers, and welcome to day 21 of 30, where I talk about my top 30 all-time favorite books in honor of my 30th birthday. Today, we will be talking about Iron Widow by Sharon J. Shao, the first book in a series where the second book is released. And I have not read it yet because I am scared. So I believe that this is technically a young adult novel, and it is kind of a sci-fi fantasy story that is heavily inspired by ancient China. And we are following our main character, Zitan. And in this world, there are aliens that are always trying to get over the wall and are trying to get into their kingdom. And in order to fight these aliens, they use these mega robots called chrysalists, and they are piloted by one man and one woman, and they use their chi, I believe it is, in order to power it. However, the way that it works is the male is the primary pilot and he pulls the energy from the female, and unless they're balanced, which they usually aren't, the female pilot ends up dying. And so the kingdom, the empire, is always looking for more women because they are just killing them over and over every time they go out to battle. And our main character's sister ends up being one of those women who ends up getting killed. However, it seems that she didn't even make it into the chrysalis before her pilot killed her, and our character is out for revenge. So she ends up volunteering herself to join and ends up getting partnered with the pilot that killed her sister. And when they go out to battle, she actually ends up draining him and killing him. And this makes her an Iron Widow. And while any man who does that would be well respected, she is seen as a threat and ends up getting paired with a prisoner named Lee. And he is accused of killing his family. However, he is also one of the most powerful pilots. And so they expect to place her with him and he will drain her, she will die. However, they actually end up being perfectly matched and become a big powerhouse in this war. And they decide to use this situation for their own gain because obviously the military is heavily relying on them to help them make progress in this war. And so they kind of set out to make some changes within this very misogynistic and patriarchal society that is more than happy to just throw women's lives away. This is actually a poly romance, which I love me a poly romance because Zitan actually has a friend who is from a very wealthy family. They had kind of met in secret when she was still living in the village, and he ends up going to the wall in order to help her. And while she and this pilot are getting closer, she also has feelings for him, and then the pilot and her friend end up having feelings for each other, and it is all great. We love to see it. But the main thing that the story really focuses on is female rage. Our character is so angry, not just that her sister died, but that people are continuously okay with all these women just throwing their lives away, and that men are not expected to do the same thing, and that anytime a woman shows any sort of strength similar to a man, she is seen as a threat rather than an asset. She is unhappy with the current system that is in place, and she is seeking to tear it down. This book has a ton of social and political commentary within it, but it also has some really fun fight scenes in it where we have our characters in these really big chrysalis robots that are fighting these aliens that are seeking to take over. This book also ends on a huge and exciting twist. At least it was for me. Some people who are more familiar with the sci-fi genre, I think, might not have been as surprised, but I didn't see it coming, and I am definitely excited for the second book, despite the fact that I just can't bring myself to pick it up because I'm also very scared to see where the story goes. But this story, I think, was excellently written. I really felt the author's feminist rage coming through this entire story. Our character is definitely leaning towards a little bit morally gray. She's not taking the high ground. No, she's gonna get her hands dirty and she's gonna take out anyone who is in her way, and you gotta respect her for that. This book also has some disability representation in it because our character has lotus feet, if you're unfamiliar with that, in ancient China, and actually not even that ancient. I believe there might still be some women who are alive who have this, but essentially it was that small feet are seen as very attractive. So when they were young, they would break their feet and almost fold them in half and like bind them. And obviously this causes excruciating pain because your feet can never heal, and any healing that does occur is wrong, and there's a lot of infection and things like that. So that is just another part of the patriarchal society that has negatively impacted our character and that she's very mad about. However, she does not let her disability and the fact that she struggles to walk hinder her in any way throughout the stories. Absolutely adored it. Let me know if you have read Iron Widow and what you thought of it, and I will see you tomorrow with our next book.